They're too cute not to show. All right, now we're going to turn to a Republican member of the House Judiciary Committee, Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler. Thank you, Congressman, for joining us.
So, Arthel, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Let's get your side of this argument. Why should President Trump not be impeached?
Well, if you look at it, the Democrats still cannot make out what we as lawyers call a prima facie case, meaning there aren't facts to support the elements of their underlying crimes. Just take the articles one by one. Abuse of power. This started off as quid pro quo, but when that failed to resonate in Democrat focus groups, they changed it to bribery. When the Democrats failed to make the case there was a bribery because they couldn't show that Zelensky and the Ukrainians felt pressure, they couldn't show that the Ukrainians even knew that aid was being withheld, they then had to move to this vague standard of abuse of power. Then you have obstruction of Congress. This is not what we would, as lawyers, would call right, meaning this hasn't played out in the courts. You know, the Democrats talk a lot about the Constitution, but they forget that we have three branches for a reason. When the executive and the legislative branch have a disagreement, that goes to the courts. That has not happened here, and they say that they're not going to let it go to the courts because it doesn't fit their time frame. Again, going back, this is all about politics.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, look, you just pointed out you're a lawyer. You're also an experienced judge. You served as a district judge and in the Navy's JAG Corps during the Iraq War. I mean, was there any testimony provided during the intel or judiciary hearings that concerned you about how President Trump conducts himself and conducts business as president?
What concerns me is that Hunter Biden was getting paid $50,000 a month.
I asked you about President Trump. Please stick to President Trump. He's the one who is on trial, sir.
There's nothing about President Trump that concerned me. Remember, Zelensky himself said he didn't feel pressure. I read the transcript of that phone call, the actual primary source, the actual evidence. There is no connection between the 2020 election and the investigation. The investigation never took place. And aid was released. And aid was released in the form of Javelin missiles. Obama sent well wishes and blankets. President Trump sent the Ukrainians Javelin missiles to take out Russian tanks. This entire process has been a sham from the start. And if you want to talk about obstruction of Congress, how about the fact that I was unable to get a subpoena on the whistleblower? That would have been helpful. The whistleblower was a factual witness.
Congressman, so you know that there are reasons and laws in place to protect whistleblowers. But let me move on.
Well,
President Trump is still fighting. President Trump is still fighting to keep his financial records hidden from you and the American people. He refused to let former White House counsel Don McGahn testify before Congress. He blocked former National Security Advisor John Bolton from testifying. People with the most intimate firsthand knowledge about the inner workings of the Trump White House. Does any of that prompt you to ask why?
Well, let me just push back real fast on the whistleblower. The whistleblower does not have the right to be anonymous, and I asked for the whistleblower to appear in executive session, meaning it would have been closed door and member only. So let's just take that off the table. As far as the subpoenas, only letters were sent to get those folks to testify. Subpoenas have to be sent, and
Congressman, you know, pardon me, you know that President Trump could have allowed Mr. McGahn and Mr. Bolton to testify. He didn't. I just ask a simple question. Does any of that prompt you to ask why? I mean, these are the people who they have the most as I said, intimate knowledge of what's happening in there. And if nothing is going on that should not be revealed to the American public, you would want those people to go out and defend the president, wouldn't you?
Well, it's because a subpoena has to be issued. They weren't. And remember, when this happened to President Obama, he did not send folks to testify before Congress. Subpoenas were issued. That's how the Fast and Furious scandal was happened.
Understood.
Resolved. So how quickly we forget that's how President Obama handled this. So again, subpoenas should have been issued, and the court should have resolved this.
Okay. So again, we're not going to go back and forth. I mean, you made some good points there. Let me move on to this. You, along with all 435 seats in the House, you're up for re-election in 2020. What do you say to your constituents or to the American people regarding the claim that GOP lawmakers refuse to go against President Trump for the fears of the president's political wrath that could cause any Republican lawmaker who's up for re-election to lose their seats?
Total nonsense. I've gone against the president in the past, and I'm doing fine. Other Republican lawmakers have too. But it's hard to go against a president that is doing so well. We have the lowest unemployment rates in over 50 years. We have a red-hot economy. Finally, we have a president that is holding China accountable. No other United States president has done that. Finally, someone's pushing back on China. So we are doing incredibly well under President Trump's leadership. So going against him is not necessary.
Is party loyalty more of a reason not to impeach, or are you concerned that impeachment is bad for our country?
Well, the Democrats have certainly weaponized impeachment. So now impeachment is about policy differences.
How have they weaponized it?
Because they cannot make out, again, a prima facie case. The elements don't support the 2 articles of impeachment. Also, this has been done incredibly.
Well, they would beg to differ, but I understand that you don't see it
that
way.
Well, look, if you take politics off the table and you look at the facts and you look at the law, both the law and both the facts are on our side. And the Democrats, again, have politicized this. If you don't believe me, look at what Al Green said before. He said we have to impeach the president or he's going to win re-election. Most of the Democrats voted to impeach before that phone call even took place. So again, this is totally politically driven, but it's going to come back and hurt the Democrats because the president is polling incredibly well in my home state of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, and for those 31
you're right
Democrats,
that no one knows what's going to be the political backlash to all of this, and I don't think the Democrats know, and it could backfire. We don't know that. We'll see it play out, but I have to leave it there, Congressman Reschenthaler.
Thanks,
I'll leave it on a positive note with you and say, go Navy.
Thank you. Beat Army. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Well, on the campaign trail, several of the